Hello everyone, so I'm here today to do a video about the Warwick Prize for Women in Translation because the long list has been announced and they are not very good at announcing this publicly, so you're never sure when they're gonna announce it, but it did come up to a few days ago. I don't know exactly when. I saw it yesterday and I thought I would make a video about the books in that list. I have read one book in that list and it's the Empusium by Olga Tokarczuk. It's kind of a retelling of Magic Mountain from sort of like a horror, feminist horror point of view. I liked it. It's not my favorite Olga Tokarczuk, but I liked it. I'm glad it's in the list. And then we can go through the other books. So the first one in the list is And the Walls Became the World All Around by Johanna, Ekström and Sigrid Rausing. And this book is the memoir of Johanna Ekström, who is a writer. I didn't know, I haven't read any of her works, but it's apparently a famous German writer, and she found out that she was dying of melanoma, and so she wrote this memoir in that time, and she asked her friend to finish the book when she died because she knew she was gonna die. It says in the description that it's very deep and intense, and I can believe that, but I just don't think this is a book that I'm particularly drawn to. If I hear amazing things from a lot of people, I might want to try it, but just from the description, it's not something that calls to me. The next one is Désirée Congo by Evelyne Trouillot, and this is a Haitian book, so it's about the final years of the Haitian Revolution, and it talks from different perspectives, from the freed slaves, the current slaves, the Creole children, the white people. Like it sounds like it's interconnected short stories, sort of, giving the different perspectives from the different people involved in that revolution. And that's, as a concept, sounds really good. Short stories are not for me, so again, this is a book that is more not for me than not a good idea in general. I think the idea is really cool and interesting, but I don't think that it is particularly for me unless reviews say otherwise. The next one in the list is Djinns by Fatma Aydemir, and this is about a Turkish man that works in Germany for 30 years, and he works to provide for his family and buy a small apartment in Istanbul so that when he retires he can go back to Istanbul and just live his retirement there. However, just before he retires, he has a heart attack, I think, and dies, and so we follow his children trying to cope with the feelings they have about their father, and some of them are more positive than others. It's always a very complicated relationship in this kind of situations, so that sounds very interesting to me. That one is one that appeals to me for sure. Then the next one in the list is Francis Bacon's Nanny by Maylis, Besserie, and this is the so Francis Bacon is a famous artist, and this follows the influences on his life of very unexpected people, including his nanny, who must have been a very interesting person and a very powerful person in his life. I'm not super into artists' lives, so this again is not something that appeals to me personally, but I think the idea sounds brilliant. So yeah, that's something very interesting for sure. The next book is Hungry for What by María Bastaros, which is short stories about they're supposed to be breaking the smooth everyday kind of curated lives and show the violence and desire that lies beneath. This is not something that appeals to me because it's short stories, but also the topic. If it was a novel about that, I think these kind of books often go towards the pretentious side of things, and that's just not my thing. So yeah, might be for someone for sure, but not for me. The next book is Lies and Sorcery by Elsa Morante, which is a book that it's actually a classic. It's like a chunker, and it was published in 1948, and it talks about the generational memory and ethnicity and like background of people, and it's very topical because it's written in 1948, so it's about a half Jewish person in just after Second World War, during Second World War, and following their struggles and feelings, as far as I understand. It also follows one thing that appeals to me from this. It says in the description that it's mostly about wildly eccentric women. So there is this half Jewish girl that her parents die, so she goes to live with this very eccentric woman, and it's kind of a woman's world. In that sense it sounds appealing, but it's a classic and it's 100 pages, so we will see about that. Then the next one is My Secret Life by Christina Toth, and these are selected poems. There is a lot of poetry in this list, and this is interesting because it says it's politically charged, and I have read short stories from Christina Toth before, and I have liked them. They're obviously not my favorite, but I think that she's a very interesting writer, and so it would be interesting to look at her poems, because poems often work for me better than short stories because they are more punchy in a way, and you're not expecting like characters or anything in a poem. So yeah, that's interesting. However, it also says that it's basically Christina Toth is a very widely recognized Hungarian author, but the government has not supported her and has attacked her in many different ways, and it does kind of talk from the political side of things, but from an artist's point of view, which that is not as much my kind of thing. So yeah, these poems maybe. The next book is Phantom Pain Wings by Kim Hye-sung, and this is another poetry collection, and it says that it's about the channeling the language of birds and the emergence of feminist poetry. I don't know what that means, but it's intriguing to me. So this one is one that sounds appealing. Then the next one is Too Great a Sky by Liliana Korobka, sorry, and this is a Romanian author talking about the deportation of Romanians from Bukovina, and how they strip the humanity of them, and how sometimes it is like people just so strong that they keep their humanity regardless, and how to keep that humanity in those conditions. That's what the description said. Sounds interesting. It's not something I've read much about before, and I think that this one would be interesting to read for sure. Then the next one is Translation of the Roots by Laura Witzner, which are again poems about parental and familial love, and this could be good. It sounds a little bit like not much to me, but it could be interesting. I don't know. We could check it out. The next one in the list is Un Amor by Sara Mesa, and it is a novel about this woman that moves from the city to the rural area in Spain, and it kind of looks, and she moves to start this first big translation that she has to do, and in the village she starts meeting her neighbors and like the main people in the town and building those connections. So again, it sounds a little bit like interconnected short stories of the different people in the town, which is not always my jam, but it's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my thing. The next one is Vanishing Points by Lucia Stupica, which is again poetry, and this one sounds like more standard poetry. So it says it's of love, loss, mystery, and what lies beyond our understanding, which says basically nothing, and that doesn't sound special to me. So I'm not dying to read it because I don't really know what it is about. And then the last book in the list is We Do Not Part by Han Kan, which is this one I have heard before. I know my library has it, and I have toyed with the idea of reading it, but I recently read Greek Lessons by Han Kan, and I did not like it so much, so I was a little bit hesitant of picking up anything of her new books. But this one says that it's the most like The Vegetarian, and also looks at friendship between two women while looking at the Korean history. So this sounds a little bit more like Human Acts to me, and I like that book, so maybe I will still pick it up basically. So yeah, as a whole, a lot of poetry, and yeah, I was also surprised that it's very heavily European. I think there is one Argentinian, one Korean, and one Haitian, and that's it. I was expecting a little bit more. I don't know, has been some amazing books from women recently, like Harlem just won the International Booker, and it's from a woman, and it's really good. The Book of Disappearance is also really good, and given the political climate, I think it would have been very good to include that if that was eligible, which I think it was. So I was surprised to not see a little bit more of that, but I'm also questioning if this prize wants to be political. I think it's intentionally avoiding being political. Last year they gave the winner to an Jewish poetry about Judaism, which I thought was a little bit weird, and nothing wrong with the book itself and them being Jewish. It's a classic of poems, so I understand that it's broader than what's happening right now, but it felt a little bit weird. And this year they didn't include any of the really good books that Palestinian women have written, for example, or like there has been also some other books from Ukrainian authors that could have been very poignant. Nothing of that. So they are mostly looking at history and poems, and some of them are political and are a bit subversive and feminist, but not, yeah, it doesn't feel, it feels like they are trying to intentionally avoid any political statement, which I found a little bit weird. And from the books of the list, so the list is 14 books, from the list in the books, so I already read the Empusium, and as I said, I would be interested in reading We Do Not Part by Han Kan. And then Two Great Sky, Djinns, and Phantom Pain Wings sounds like I could like, but they are all fairly difficult to get and fairly expensive, so I'm not sure I will do that anytime soon. So I might just end up reading the Han Kan and the Olga Tokarczuk from this list, which are books I already knew about. So not the most successful list in the world, but we will see what the reviews for some of these books eventually are, and we will see who wins, and I might also read that if I haven't already read it. But yeah, that's all for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you are interested in the Warwick Prize, and let me know if you're following along, and until next video, bye!